Okay, this is the second video to go over history of Europe. This isn't to go over every single detail, and the idea is to help you to understand that kings, really powerful people and elitists, they're not good for people. They're not good for the country. They're not good for families. They're not good for middle class. They're not good for poor class. They are in it for themselves. They basically would use other people to bleed and die so that they could get more money and more territory. And the idea is these people are still in power in all over the world, especially Europe, but other places also. And people have been given this illusion that we no longer have kings. And it's kind of a lie because we still have kingmen. They're not always called kings. Sometimes they're called Robber space Barons. Okay? We will probably talk about that more. And it's the basic idea is if you're living like a king above the people, you're taking more than your share. You're not sharing or letting other families prosper. You're taking all of that wealth for yourself. To have that much, you have to be pushing somebody else down because you're getting more than your ability to work and earn personally for yourself. So that means you have to be taking from other people. Other people aren't going to let you just take that. So you have to push them down. People live in fear. You give them the idea that you can take away their job if they don't, or their life or whatever, if they don't go along with your plans. And that's why people will defend kingdoms and kingly systems, such as in Europe, in the history of Europe. These people, they're still there. And when you do a little digging, a lot of governments in Europe still have systems where lords can still influence the government. They can influence it by money alone, but there's other ways. A certain government across the sea has a House of Lords and a House of Commons. They're very nice people. I don't hate them in any way. But if you have a House of Lords, that's kingmen. Kingmen are in it for themselves. Okay, I will talk more about that later. But now a couple of ideas on the wars of the 1700s. To give you an idea how turbulent this is, and a lot of this is caused by the kings and the kingmen. Okay, common people don't go out and decide they're going to start a war. It's the lords that do it. The War of the Spanish Succession, 1701 to 1714. 13 or 14 years. That's quite a long time, wouldn't you say? That was a conflict between France and a coalition of European powers, including the UK, Austria, and the Dutch Republic, over the Spanish throne. It also included manipulations by the Hohenzollerns of Prussia. Prussia was a major player in that time period, and they were trying to influence who was on the Spanish throne, not just their own thrones. Okay, you also had the War of the Austrian Succession, 1740 to 1748, conflict over the succession of the Austrian throne, including France, Prussia, the UK, and others. You notice Prussia is there a lot. Even though Prussia looks like a very small place on the European map for that time period, they were a major power. Ended with the Treaty of Aix-la-Chapelle, which recognized the pragmatic. Well, I don't need to go into that. Now, then you have the 7 Years' War, 1756 to 1763. Global conflict between France, Britain, Prussia, Austria, and Russia. And certain people argue that colonies in North America and India also were battlegrounds. Then you had the partitions of Poland, which was a conflict, sort of a mixture of political conflict and I guess you could describe it as having Cold War like conflict, non-conflict as well, 1772 to 1795. Uh, then you had the French Revolution and Napoleonic Wars from 1792 to 1815. So, I mean, that French period, all of that battling over whether or not they were going to have a king, basically it was nonstop conflict for almost 25 years in their country. Um, that's amazing that it would go on that long. Anyway, that's enough for that. But basically, okay, whenever you have world powers and kingdoms, there's a struggle. People want to have more than the next guy. Why is it they can't be, they can't have enough? That there will never be enough. You can look at kings and ROBBER space BARONS. They never stop. And they eat the middle class. Okay, this country has had its middle class in the modern era eaten by these kinds of people. This is why people need to get back to constitutional values, education about how to reform the country and what the value should be. The value should be on faith and liberty and coexistence also. This isn't anything hateful. This is just what is going to do the most good for the most families. A country is a very large mountain of thousands and thousands of family lines and little family circles. And those are the real building blocks of a society. To have a healthy country, you need lots of families and healthy families. That's what you need to be focused on. So, how are you going to create the best chance for families to be stable and succeed? The only way you can do that is with faith and prayer and repentance, as well as constitutional values and liberty. That's all for this video. Thanks.